Hello everyone, welcome back. My name is Flavio Pereira. I'm part of the technical enablement team at OCI. This is the lesson 100 level for web application firewall. On this portion, we're going to talk about WAF architectures and some of the benefits of the WAF. On the previous video, I explained some of the concepts of WAF, the rules that you can enable inside of the WAF and how it works. So let's just go dive a little bit on the architecture. How do you implement WAF and how it works inside of OCI? So this is one. This is actually the architecture of WAF in OCI. So just to give an overview and idea how it works. So you have your application deployed inside of your tenancy on the side of your VCN, right? And then you're probably going to have a load balancer and the applications deployed there. Once you do that, you wanna make sure WAF can protect the access and implement all the rules and capabilities to make sure that it is going to be protected against any attacks or any threats that potentially will bring your application down. So when you go and deploy the WAF is actually a regional base service. When you deploy, you select which region you want to deploy and then which rules you want to apply, and then once you have all that configured and which you also configure which load balancer, which web application you want to point to, and once you have all that information in place and you push the configuration towards that configuration will be placed on what we call the WAF edge nodes. So WAF edge nodes is actually places spread around the globe where we have control, where we deploy the WAF policies, and then everyone that's trying to access your application through internet, all the internet clients, they will be resolving the domain and it going through the DNS resolution, and then the first stop that they're going to make is through those WAF wedge nodes where we can verify all the connection and the traffic, and then make sure that only good traffic will be sent over to your application, right? So we make sure that all the policies you put it in place will be applied, and then the access to the web will execute it, right? As you can see, you can have other cloud providers or even on-premises hosted internet-facing web applications, and you can set up WAF inside of OCI as long as you have a public ending point for your your application and another cloud provider or on premises, then a WAF can protect those workloads too. So this is a good understanding as when you creating multiple rules and enable multiple rules. The idea is as you do that, as much rules as much as possible. Like if you want to enable cross script injecting, you can do that, and along with CAPTCHA challenge, or even with blocking for access from specific countries. You do that once, because once you push that configuration, you take a few minutes to deploy everything to the wedge nodes and make sure that the DNS we understand how to redirect the traffic from all the clients trying to connect to your web application through the WAF, and then pass that over to the web application. So just keep that in mind. This is how it works. So when you're creating some rules, it takes a few minutes to publish everything through the WAF wedge nodes. Those are the WAF point of presence. So if you're interested to know like where we have point of presence for WAF for those edge nodes, so here's a map of some of the places available. Of course, we're working to get more places available as well, but this gives you an idea of locations, especially locations close to where we have OCI data centers too. So this is give you a footprint overview. So here's some of the shared responsibility model for WAF, and then this is give you a list of what exactly is covered by Oracle, what exactly is covered by the customer who have to take actions to do it. So one example is configure WAF onboarding dependencies like DNS ingress rules and network. So this is actually on the customer responsibility when you're creating the your web application inside of the VCN, you're responsible to set up all the configurations around it, and also the DNS configuration as well. So you have a DNS entry that you need to place on your DNS configuration to allow WAF to send traffic over to your application, right? So other things, for example, keep WAF infrastructure patched and updated. This is Oracle responsibility. We do that for you. We make sure that we always giving you the latest and greatest in terms of the rules for WAF that you can. After that, you can just go and enable by yourself. But we keep that infrastructure patched and updated to make sure everything is running the way it's supposed to for the WAF services. Another one, like provide high availability AHA for the WAF. This is Oracle responsibility too. We make sure that the WAF services is high available, is deployed in a way that will be spread across the region, and then make sure everything is on AJ mode, right? So customer doesn't have to worry about if the WAF will go down and how that's going to work, if that's going to prevent access to my application. So we make sure that we have the high availability in place for WAF. Okay, so this is a list. You can use that as a reference to consult and understand what is the responsibility of Oracle, what's the responsibility of customers. Some of the benefits of our cloud infrastructure WAF, and along with what I mentioned on the last session, with all the, protecting your web application and all that. But WAF, we'll make sure that everything is protected. You protect against any malicious bad actors trying to access your application and just giving some downtime on your workload. So global traffic management and optimization, this is a good benefit of it. Consolidated WAF policies for OCI and for non-OCI applications, so which is a good benefit to you, so you don't have to invest a lot of money on having WAF for things you're running on premises and things you're running on OCI, so you can use the same WAF to protect both as well. So let's do a demo of web application firewall. So I'm going to show you how do you instantiate a WAF and OCI, how you enable some rules to protect your web server, your application. So I'll have a demo that's going to show you all these steps and how to do that. All right, so let's show you a demo of the OCI WAF. So here I'm on my OCI account, and if I go on the left menu, I can scroll down all the way to governance and administration. Then I have the secured option here, and WAF policies will be under the secured option. So when I click on WAF policies, I do have a WAF policy already created in my account. What I'm just going to show here on the screen when you create a WAF policy, what you have to do. So if you click create WAF policy, you're going to give it a name, give any name you want for a policy. Then you need to provide the primary domain. So for example, if your web application will be responding to, let's say, in my case here, OCI-demo.net, I can use additional domains. For example, my entire web will be www.oci-demo.net. So I can provide subdomains here on that screen. So I can put additional domains too. I can add more if I need it. The WAF origin name. This is actually any name you can give here. For example, I can do OCI demo. And the URI, that's actually the IPv4, right, or the FQDN, or the name of your public access to your web application. For example, if you put in your web application behind a load balancer, then you can have to put the IP, a public IP of your load balancer here, or the FQDN. So if you already have a domain register for that as well. So here you can select, you can go advanced options and just put port 443 or different port, or port 80, and you can inject some headers as well, some header value on that, so if that's required for your application. Okay, so very simple. Once you do that, you can just create a WAF policy, And once you click create a WAF policy, and I'm going to show you the screen here on my current policy, this is the screen that you're going to see. Okay, you're going to have more information on the WAF, the primary domain, the additional domains, the OCID, the CNAME target that will be generated for you. And that's the key piece of pushing the configuration to the WAF wedge nodes. So the CNAME target is generated for you, and then all you have to do is you have to copy that information and visit your DNS provider, and then enter that information to the DNS provider. So for example, let me just go show here real quick. If I go back to the DNS portion, I do have a DNS zone created here. So if I go to my DNS zone management, I do have this OCI demo NAC created. And then if I go on the records, I do have the CNAME that was provided by the WAF pointing to my waf.ocidemo.net. So if I open up this on the browser, this is actually a traffic that's going through the WAF. Okay, so we're going to go access in a few minutes here, but just that's how you make the communication between the WAF and the DNS zones. So then you published that to the DNS zones, and everyone actually accessing waf.oci.net will redirect to the web application file, right? So going back to the WAF, let's go back here and open up the policy. So yeah, all the information you're going to see here. So on the left side, you have metrics. You can see some metrics of access through the WAF traffic and so on, so forth. Origin management. This is how I'm pointing to my load balancer. So I have a load balancer in Phoenix running my application, and then if I type this URI on the browser, this is going to give me access to the application. So if I just copy that information, let's see, lbpx.ocidemo.net. This is my web application. I'm connecting, and as you can see, Web 01 and Web 02. This is not going through the WAF. It's just connecting to the load balancer and redirecting round robin to my web application. Okay. So then what I'm going to do, I'm going to protect this. I'm going to put a WAF layer on top of this load balancer access. Okay. Some of the settings here, again, when you create the policy, you can edit, you can change what's the original URI and all that. Protection rules, and this is where we start actually enabling some of the rules to protect our web application. So this is one of the portions that I mentioned about the 250 rules available for you. You can select one of the rules, and you're going to change the action here and say detect. I just want to detect if my web is getting this type of rule, and then I'm going to log that information. Then you can take some action after the log information. You can block right away and say I want to just block that rule. So if for some reason someone trying to access my application and go through this code here, this remote code execution, then I'm going to block access right away, right? And if the rule is enabled, I can just disable anytime. So those are the things available that you can actually select. For example, cross-site scripting XSS. You can just go here and say action block, and then you're going to see the block right here. Okay. Some of the recommendations, and this is really good way to protect your web application too, because once you point to the public endpoint of a web application, right? In this case here, my load balancer, WAF will actually do a scanning on your application, and he can give you some recommendations and say, hey, this PHP injection is something that might be allow for people to try to get access to your application. You can just go here and accept the recommendation, and then we'll take actions like to block any type of PHP injection against your website, right? So it actually detect potential threats that might be possible against your web application, and just give you this set of rules that you can just go and apply, right? This is a good thing to do. And then the rule setting, for example, every time it got through the rule, some response code you get on the browser. So 403 forbidden will get access to it. We get that. You can edit and you can change the block response code for something different if you wanna do it. This is just the default configuration. You can show an error page too, and then you can customize the message of the error page when one of the rules is detected. Okay, so you can make those changes as well. Right, so the access control is if I want to, for example, block actions from a specific location. In this case here, I'm just say if it's coming from Brazil traffic, I'm just gonna block access to that URL, or if specific match on the URL, for example, is /test or /dev or something like that, you just want to block access by the URL. So if you click add access, you can see here, you can do by country, by URL, URL start with, end with, by IP addresses too. So if the source originated from this specific public IP address, I just want to block access. Or if there's any HTTP header that contain a specific string, you can also block access as well. Okay. Yeah, so you can log and allow, you can detect only, or you can block access. So those are the kind of things you can do. You can add multiple conditions in one single rule. Okay. IP whitelisting. So if you trust some of the public IPs or some of ending points that you're gonna get access to your application, so you can add those that information here, and then this will not go through any of the access control rules. Okay, it will be whitelisted. Bot management, and that's what we talk about: the JavaScript challenge, the CAPTCHA challenge, and the good bot whitelist. So you can enable some of the JavaScript challenge, CAPTCHA as well. So I add one CAPTCHA here every time someone type OCI-demo.net/CAPTCHA. So we're gonna get the CAPTCHA message there. Right, and some of the good bot whitelist. For example, if you have a monitoring tool going through your web application for New Relic, for example, that's going to connect to your application to do some testing and monitoring to manage traffic or understand how it's behaving. So you can whitelist those as well. Okay. So on the last portion, we have the logs. Everything that's connecting or happening to the WAF will show here on the logs what kind of request URL was executed, who was the IP addresses, what action actually was executed, if was blocked, was just log, and all that information here. So, and the last portion is the unpublished chains, which is every time you change something, you have to publish. So, which means you have to push that configuration to the WAF wedge nodes, right? And then those configurations will be placed there. So that's why it's highly recommended you make some changes. You combine those changes that you want to make, and then once you do it, you publish out, because that's going to go through the WAF wedge nodes. Are going to take a few minutes to get in place. Okay, I'm not going to push that change for now, so I just want to show you here how I can access my web application, right? So as I was saying, this is the load balancer one, no WAF protected. But if I open up another browser here and say WAF OCI-demo.net, it's actually going through the WAF configuration. So like I have one configured here. For example, if I do CAPTCHA and we can see that actually send us over to the CAPTCHA challenge, and then I have to enter that information in order to access the page, right? This is one example. Another one, if I do block /block, this is going to the WAF 2 and then blocking access to that specific URL, right? This is a message that was pasted over here. Okay. Yeah, so as you can see, the traffic is going through the WAF. If there is any script trying to do some malicious code here, if I have enabled some of the cross scripting or PHP injection, you can also test some of the tools. There's tools out there that can make tests against your web application using those kind of attacks, and then you can test it out using the WAF enable to see how that's going to react. Okay, yeah, that was the demo. I hope you like it. Thanks for watching.